The lights inside the arena burned bright across London, but beneath all the noise, all the glamour, and all the championship introductions, there was tension hanging in the air around one man. Daniel Dubois walked toward the ring carrying more than just the WBA heavyweight title around his waist. He carried questions about his heart, questions about his toughness, questions that had followed him ever since the brutal defeat against Joe Joyce years earlier. That loss hadn't just damaged his eye, it had damaged his reputation in the eyes of critics who believed the young heavyweight cracked under pressure. But tonight was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be another step toward redemption. Another knockout victory, another highlight reel performance for the rising British star they called Triple D. The crowd expected destruction. The commentators expected domination. Even the betting odds screamed that this would be a routine title defense for the powerful London heavyweight who had already built a terrifying reputation with his knockout power. Then came the challenger. Kevin Lerena entered the arena without the same fanfare, but there was something dangerous about him. Calm, focused, almost ignored. The South African southpaw had traveled all the way from Johannesburg, carrying the nickname the Gutter Dog, and unlike many challengers who come to survive, Lerena looked like a man who genuinely believed he was about to shock the world. The introductions echoed through the building. Dubois stood massive under the lights, physically imposing, broad-shouldered, carrying the aura of a heavyweight puncher capable of ending fights with one clean shot. Across from him stood Lerena, shorter, less physically intimidating, but carrying a confidence that many overlooked. The bell rang, and within moments, the entire atmosphere changed. Dubois began aggressively, trying to establish control early with his jab and right hand. He looked composed for the opening exchanges. But then Lerena found the opening that changed everything. A sharp shot landed high on Dubois' head, right on the temple area, and suddenly the champion's legs betrayed him. The crowd gasped as Dubois stumbled awkwardly before crashing to the canvas. The arena froze. Nobody expected this. Not against Daniel Dubois, not this early. The referee began the count as Dubois blinked in confusion, trying to regain his balance. He rose, but something looked wrong. His legs weren't steady. His eyes looked shaken. Across the ring, Lerena sensed it immediately. He had hurt the champion, and now he smelled blood. The South African exploded forward. Every punch suddenly carried danger. Every exchange sent panic through the crowd. Dubois tried to fire back, but his reactions were delayed. His balance was off. Then it happened again. Another attack forced Dubois down for a second time, and now disbelief spread across the arena. The commentators could barely process what they were seeing. This wasn't supposed to happen. Daniel Dubois, one of the heavyweight division's most feared punchers, was collapsing under pressure in the opening round, and then came the third knockdown. At that moment, the entire fight felt like it was slipping away from him. The crowd could see it. The commentators could see it. Even the body language of Dubois revealed uncertainty. The same old question suddenly returned with full force. Was he mentally broken? Had the Joe Joyce loss permanently damaged his confidence? Could he handle adversity when things turned ugly? Lerena looked fearless now. Calm, precise, dangerous. The South African wasn't fighting like an underdog anymore. He was fighting like a man who believed destiny had arrived. Every left hand carried conviction. Every movement carried purpose. He knew the champion was vulnerable, and honestly, many believed the fight was already over. As Dubois staggered back to his corner after the first round, the energy inside the arena had completely transformed. The atmosphere was no longer celebratory. It was nervous, uncertain. Fans whispered to each other in disbelief. Commentators questioned whether Dubois had mentally checked out. Even ringside analysts began discussing the possibility of a historic upset, because heavyweights don't usually recover from rounds like that, especially not after 3 knockdowns. When the second round began, Lerena had a choice to make. He could either pour on the pressure and try to finish the wounded champion immediately, or stay patient and composed. That decision would define the fight. Dubois, meanwhile, looked like a man trying to survive. His movements were cautious now. He wasn't charging forward recklessly anymore. Instead, he focused on regaining control of his legs, his breathing, and most importantly, his confidence. His jab became more active. His feet settled. Slowly, the panic that consumed him in round 1 began fading away. Lerena still landed good shots. The danger was still there. But something subtle started changing. Dubois was recovering. The commentators noticed it first. His legs looked stronger. His reactions sharper. The heavyweight power that disappeared during the opening chaos was beginning to return. Dubois started pumping his jab with more authority. He dug a right hand into the body, then another straight right upstairs. The champion was waking up, and suddenly, the momentum began shifting in a way that heavyweight boxing often does, violently and without warning. Lerena, after dominating the first round, eased off the pressure just enough to allow Dubois back into the fight. It was only a small hesitation, but against a puncher like Dubois, even one mistake can become fatal. Heavyweight boxing is cruel that way. 1 second you're controlling the fight, the next second you're unconscious. Dubois could feel the tide turning. His confidence grew with every passing exchange. He stopped reacting defensively and started attacking again. His jab snapped harder. His right hand became more dangerous. The fear that haunted him after the knockdowns slowly transformed into aggression. Then came round 3, the round that changed everything. Dubois stepped forward with renewed confidence, stalking Lerena behind a sharp jab. The South African still looked composed, but the explosive momentum from the first round was gone. And then, suddenly, the champion unleashed the shot that turned the entire fight upside down. A crushing right hand blasted through Lerena's guard. Down he went. The arena erupted instantly. Now it was Dubois roaring with confidence. Now it was Lerena trying to steady himself. The momentum had completely flipped. Just minutes earlier, Dubois looked finished. Now he was hunting for a knockout. Heavyweight boxing can change in a heartbeat. Dubois charged forward like a predator, sensing weakness. The same fighter who looked lost in round 1 suddenly looked terrifying again. He pinned Lerena against the ropes and unleashed a brutal combination of punches. Hooks crashed into the body. Uppercuts ripped through the guard. Straight shots slammed into Lerena's face as the South African desperately tried to survive. But Dubois smelled victory. Every shot carried raw violence. Every punch echoed through the arena. Lerena showed incredible courage trying to fight back, but the damage was building rapidly. Dubois' power was overwhelming now. The confidence was fully restored. The crowd, moments earlier silenced in shock, exploded with energy as the British heavyweight unleashed a savage finishing sequence. Then came the uppercut, devastating. The punch snapped Lerena backward violently, and the referee instantly saw enough. He jumped between the fighters, waving off the contest before more punishment could land. It was over. Daniel Dubois had completed one of the wildest momentum swings heavyweight boxing had seen in years, from 3 knockdowns in the opening round to a brutal comeback knockout victory just 2 rounds later. The arena erupted as Dubois climbed the ropes in celebration, emotion pouring out of him after surviving the chaos. The critics who questioned his heart suddenly had a new conversation to hold. Because whatever flaws Dubois may still have as a fighter, one thing became impossible to deny that night. He refused to quit. That mattered, especially in the heavyweight division where adversity exposes everything. The replay only made the fight look crazier. The early knockdowns showed Dubois completely disoriented, struggling to keep his balance after shots landed around the temple area. Commentators explained how those punches affected equilibrium more than raw damage. For a moment, Dubois looked physically and mentally overwhelmed, but the comeback told a different story. The finishing sequence was brutal. Dubois showed patience, punch selection, and killer instinct. Body shots softened Lerena up. Hooks forced, openings. Then came the uppercuts that finally ended the fight. It wasn't just power, it was controlled destruction. And with that victory, Dubois retained his WBA heavyweight title and continued rebuilding his reputation as one of boxing's most dangerous young heavyweights. But even in victory, the fight left questions behind. Because while Dubois showed tremendous resilience, The vulnerabilities were impossible to ignore. His defense still looked shaky at times. His head movement remained limited. Against elite heavyweights, moments like those first-round knockdowns could end careers. Still, boxing fans couldn't look away from what they had just witnessed. This was heavyweight drama at its absolute best: chaos, knockdowns.